Who Does She Think She Is? Read by Martine McCutcheon. My mum always said I was special. I know all mums say that, but my mum insists something happened on Saturday, May the 14th, 1976, the day I was born, that really made her believe it. James Callaghan had just become Prime Minister and ABBA were the top of the charts with Fernando. My mum, Jenny, was in the less than salubrious delivery room at the Salvation Army's Mothers' Hospital in Clapton, the centre of London's East End. She'd been in labour for 36 hours and she'd just about had enough. It was a hot spring that year, with the warm mornings building up to scorching days. From what I'm told about the day that I made my first big entrance, it was particularly muggy and claustrophobic in the delivery room. At the very moment of my delivery, as the midwife prepared to cut my umbilical cord, Mum says the sun suddenly broke through the humid cloud outside and shone right on me. She says the room was completely dark except for this ray of light shining right on me. She was totally amazed by it and still sees it as a special sign. Mum was born on March the 15th, 1956, at the City of London Hospital. It's within the sound of the Bow Bells, which makes her a true Cockney. Her mum was a housewife and her dad was a bakery worker, though throughout her childhood he went from job to job with long periods of unemployment in between. Mum left home at 16 and rented a flat in Islington, right behind Camden Passage Antiques Market, with a friend, Sylvia Wales. The pair of them had, excuse a pun, a whale of a time, and Mum, who worked at Alfred Marks Employment Agency, was earning good money. Mum had first met my father, Thomas Hemmings, when she was 13. Even as a young girl she was struck by him. She thought he was a flash so-and-so and a bit of a Jack the Lad. He had dark hair just like me and stood about 5'11" tall. Back then, he looked just like a male version of me. They didn't meet again until 1973 when Mum was 17. She'd gone out one afternoon with her sister Kim and the pair were having a coffee in a snack bar. In those days, like now, Mum was a feisty woman. She was very determined but full of contradictions like most women and masked a very sensitive side to her nature with a facade of bravado. She was very popular with men despite wearing those awful 70s outfits, V-neck jersey tops and crushed velvet flares. She always had painted nails and glossy red lips when she went out in the evening and had a fabulously curvy figure. She was blue-eyed, big-bosomed and long-legged. Thomas must have recognised Jenny from when she was much younger. He made his approach using the corniest of chat-up lines, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" It worked all the same. They chatted, he asked her out, and they went off to the Dragon Arms, a pub nearby, for their first date. Tall and handsome, and 2 years older than she was, Mum was smitten. Thomas, or Keith as he was known, was considered to be quite a catch, and never went far without a woman chasing after him. Outwardly, he appeared very smart and streetwise. He loved his music and introduced Mum to the West Indian Hackney scene. They were regulars at Hackney's flourishing illegal party scene known as the boogie parties. Musicians would turn up and play music while people smoked pot and bought beers. In those heady early days of their romance, Keith's passion rapidly became an obsession. Mum reckons he was the most insanely jealous man she's ever met. Jenny discovered she was pregnant with me in the autumn of 1975. She still maintains Keith was excited at first, but when it sunk in, his feelings changed. He was almost jealous of the fact that somebody else was going to come along into their lives. She believed that when he realised there would be more responsibilities on him, that he'd have to work and do a proper job, he went off the idea of having a baby. Dad's mood swings became so extreme that Jenny began to wonder if they could cope with the baby, and she thought about having a termination. She went as far as going to see a pregnancy advisory counsellor. 5 months into the pregnancy, Mum decided to leave Keith. She packed up her stuff and moved out of the bedsit she shared with him. Carrying what she could, she ended up at a mother and baby home in Clacton Pond that reeked of pissy, shitty, pukey baby smells. Fortunately, an old school friend, Sherry Jeffrey, came to her rescue and let her stay at her home on the Holly Street estate in Hackney. Just before I was born, Mum and Keith met up again. He promised he would get a job, and to his credit, he did. He got some temp work at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, and then a little later, as his reading and writing wasn't very good, Mum filled out an application for him to work for London Underground as a trainee electrician, a job where he could actually learn a trade. For a short while, everything was looking rosier, and Keith was working proper shifts like a normal man, when I decided to say hello to the world. Mum says the first thing I did after I'd appeared was open my eyes, then I opened my gob, and she said it's been the same ever since. Mum left hospital and moved to a bed and breakfast place opposite the Rainbow, an old concert hall in Finsbury Park, North London. Keith was far from happy with Mum as she'd decided I would take her surname, although his name is stated as being the father on my birth certificate. Mum felt that given the way he'd been behaving, Keith didn't deserve the privilege of giving me his surname, so I was registered as Martine Kimberly Sherry Ponting, with Keith or Thomas Hemmings as the name father. One morning, Keith came back at 5 a.m. after his shift at London Underground to find Mum absolutely frantic. I'd been vomiting and I had the most chronic diarrhoea. As I was just 6 weeks old, they decided to take me straight to casualty, but not having enough money for a minicab, Mum wrapped me up as best as she could in a blanket and they made for the nearest bus station. A driver agreed to drop them off near the Whittington Hospital in Archway. The doctors said, "We're doing all we can, but we don't think your baby's going to make it. She's so frail and was completely dehydrated when she came in. She had no fluid in her body at all." After a few days I stabilised and they seemed more positive that I would pull through, yet there was still a mystery as to how I could have become so ill in the first place. When I was discharged, 3 weeks later, the council found us a room in a halfway house in London Fields, Hackney. We hadn't been there long when Mum was contacted by the hospital. Some of the other babies at the hostel where we'd been staying before had also become ill. The doctors realised that there was something wrong with the water used to make their feeds. It was a weight off of Mum's shoulders. Although she knew she'd made my feeds correctly, Keith's constant accusations that she hadn't had worn her down. Life was only marginally easier for Mum and me at the new place. The water might have been healthier, but there was another menace to contend with: mice. After pleading with officials in the housing department, Mum was offered a 2-bedroom flat on the notorious Pembury estate in Hackney, one of the poorest places in London, but still infinitely more appealing than our current abode. We moved in just before Christmas. By then I was 6 months old. People helped out where they could. One of Jenny's friends gave her an old black and white television, Uncle Lawrence gave her his old settee, and Auntie Kim doled out some second-hand baby clothes, an old pram and a buggy. We didn't have much furniture, but it was home all the same, and it was ours. Mum could close the front door and we felt like we were somewhere safe at last. Or so we thought.